Hello my gorgeous makeup loving friends, how's it going? Welcome back to my channel, or if you're new here, hi, my name is Teresa and I love all things makeup, beauty and skincare. So that means that every weekend I round up some of the newest makeup releases that you guys and myself wanted to talk about. So in saying that, I have to say a massive thank you to everybody who tagged me in content this week. I so appreciate it. I've been very bold. I haven't had much of a chance to upload, so I didn't even get a chance to put stuff into stories to see what you guys think. So I'd love if you comment below as the video goes on. But I also have to say a massive thank you to my YouTube community members. You guys are fabulous and I need to schedule a live with you guys very soon. Just a general chit chat and see how everything is going. But let's get into it because we do have a couple of new releases to discuss. The first one that we're talking about is Blend Bunny Cosmetics. We knew that something was coming out because they changed their logo. That's kind of like the beacon, the bat signal to let us know that they're doing something new. And this time they've come out with a new mascara which is coming out on the 9th. So as you're watching, it is available. It's only $13 US, which I actually think is a pretty decent price for a mascara. Because I mean, if you look at things like L'Oreal or Maybelline, all the drugstore mascaras, they're about that price. So the fact that an indie brand has managed to come out with a mascara that is not that expensive, I have to say, pretty darn good. They've basically said that it's one of those mascaras that they didn't want to make a big deal of and be like, oh my god, it's gonna solve all of your problems. They said it adds some volume, it has staying power, it's lengthening, and it separates your lashes. I mean, that sounds pretty darn good to me. It's called the Omni Lash. Now, I will say, do I get excited about mascaras? No, I don't. But that's mainly because I have very straight, downturned lashes. So I feel like most mascaras just don't work for me. Like, even when I curl and then try and put a mascara on over, nah, it just goes down. That is, quite frankly, that is the reason why it is so good that we have false lashes. But I think this is a very smart addition to theirs, because I mean, mascara is one of those ones that you do have to repurchase quite a bit just for health and hygiene reasons. You don't want to be putting an old mascara near your eyes. That's how styes and general infections happen. Don't be doing that. So I think actually having something that's quite affordable, I can see people like on new launches just be like, oh well, while I'm picking up this palette, I might as well get the mascara at the same time, because it would make sense. I have to say, I think this is a pretty decent release from them. I feel like the wand itself reminds me a little bit of the Too Faced Better Than Sex mascara. So, I mean, it's a much cheaper alternative to that. And it's, by the way, vegan and cruelty free, which the brand has been since its inception. I think it's pretty darn good, to be fair. Like I said, it's not one for me, but that's because I don't get excited about mascaras. And yet I have a bunch of mascaras in a box over there waiting to be used. But there you go. Then this next one I am 5,000,000% excited about. But I'm also like Teresa, you have so many blushes, you do not need this. This is One Size Beauty, which is of course by Patrick Starr. And this is the Cheek Clapper 3D Blush Trio palette in the style Gworly Pop or Gworly Pop. I am still struggling with trying to pronounce that. It's $38 and it is available now. And I love that they've kind of shown that next to their previous pink palette, which is a much softer pink. It's called the Attention Seeker. So you can really see how the Gworly Pop is much more of like a fuchsia pink, which I think is going to look so much better on deep skin tones than that paler pink. I mean, I still want the deep pink because I'm ridiculous and I apparently want to live my 80s vibes. I also feel like Patrick did a really good job in showcasing this palette and having that whole 80s theme around it, like the disco vibe, although that's more 70s, but you know what I mean. I think it's fabulous. And I mean, you're looking at 3 different types of formula. There's a cream, there's a powder, and then there's a sort of a highlighty blush, which is stunning. And as I said, it does look absolutely gorgeous on deeper skin tones as well. So I have to say, I feel like this is just done really well. He doesn't have like a huge amount of things in his brand thus far. Like, he's done the rare thing of coming out with products and not having an eyeshadow palette. And I think that's quite interesting, but he's still doing quite well. Anything that I've ever heard about the brand has all been very positive. Now, all I have from the brand is their loose setting powder and one of these trio blushes. and I have to say I do actually really enjoy them. You can get them through Sephora UK if you are interested. I think this is really, really nice. I mean, $38 though. I mean, that's a one-off big expense, but when you look at the fact that you're getting 3 different formulas, that works out as being $12.67 per shade. So it's not the absolute worst. Like, he's managed to keep it down. I do think as well the packaging is very, very smart. You know, you have your plastic separator between the cream and the powders, which is extremely mindful. I mean, there's lots of other brands, aka Tarte, who don't do that. So I think that was super, super clever. And I think it's beautiful. Then the next thing that we have to talk about is Game Beauty. And normally when I'm talking about, you know, these collaborations, I don't always know the source inspiration, but on this rare occasion, I actually do. This is their collaboration with Attack on Titan. And when I was looking on their website, they said volume 1. So it does seem that we'll be getting more volumes, which I have to say, I'm quite excited about. It was a very curated collection. There's 3 different quads. They're $18 each. There's 4 different lip glosses. They're $15 each. You can do different bundles of like the shadows, the lip bundles, etc. And there's a PR box including like this cool, like essentially packaging of the characters from Attack on Titan. Which, by the way, if you haven't seen Attack on Titan, I highly recommend it. It's really, really cool. So the pre-order is already up now and the shipping starts in April. The quads themselves make a huge amount of sense when you know the source material. So I kind of went through this in like a short during the week, but I'll do it again now because I think it's still worth talking about. The Maria one, again, it's 4 shades, but we're looking at things like mattes. There's a sheer duochrome in there as well, and there's a shimmer. So we have 2 mattes, a shimmer, and a duochrome, which I think is really, really smart. And for $15, that's not bad at all. Then the Rose Wall one, again, we're looking at another duochrome. This one, it's a coral red with a citrine shift, which I think is very, very smart. And again, they've got some kind of mattes and shimmers in there. The Cinna Wall Shadow Quad, again, has a duochrome in there. The duochrome goes from orange to an earth brown, so I would say it probably isn't as exciting as the other ones, but in all, I feel like these are done like really, really well. They look fantastic. The artwork is perfect. It has like the symbols from each of the walls. Which I know if you don't know anything about Attack on Titan, you're like, why are you talking about walls, Teresa? The walls are there to keep out the Titans and the kind of more into the town that you are, like the inner walls, the more rich you are. It's a whole thing. It's a really brilliant show, and in my mind, like a commentary on, you know, socioeconomic systems and the fact that, you know, the lower classes are expected to go through all of this hardship to protect the upper class. It's such an interesting commentary, and I do think it's worth watching. In all, I think they're done really, really well. They were very strategic with their Cinna palette in that the yellow that's there, you kind of look at it and kind of go, oh, is that a matte? It's not an exact matte. There's a little bit of a shimmer in it. And I said this before, because getting a yellow, oh my God, trying to get a yellow matte is a nightmare in and of itself when it comes to production. So I think they added in the shimmer just to make it a little bit easier for them. But it does look like it's quite good. I'd love to know how blendable it is. Like, definitely the Cinna one is probably a little bit more of an everyday sort of a palette, in that, you know, you could do your warm tone stuff. I think these are done really, really nicely. I can't in my mind figure out exactly what I would do with each palette. Like, that kind of escapes me, but the quality looks pretty good. Yeah, I think it's really nice. This is definitely one of those ones that it's more like collectors, and I really appreciate that Game Beauty do seem to actually really enjoy the IP that they've got. As I said, they also have the lip glosses, and there's 2 that are more kind of like matte sort of tones, and then there's 2 that are more shimmers. So the more matte toned ones are Erin and Mikasa, and then the 2 shimmery ones, there's Levi, and that has silver sparkle, and then there's Armin, which has golden flecks, which actually makes a huge amount of sense if you know the source material. I have to say, I think they're really, really beautiful, and I love how they've showcased them. The packaging is really, really great. I love that they've kind of done that mixture of like almost like an everyday lip gloss then with something that's a little bit more out there. This is, by the way, limited edition, so if you really want this, you know, you're gonna have to get it ASAP. I don't love when they do things like lip glosses as limited edition, because what if you get this, and I mean, I'm looking at the Levi one, that looks looks so beautiful. Like, what if you get this and you're like, this is my ride or die lip gloss, and then you can't get it again? I mean, that would kind of suck. So I would hope that maybe they would like redo it, but just not have the packaging. Because I think, you know, with like a repurchasing item like lip gloss, that would be very, very smart. All in all, I think this is done really, really well. I think they've managed to keep the price down quite well, to be fair. Like I said, you could get all 3 of those quads, you could get the 4 lip glosses, and you can get it all done together in this lovely bundle for $96, which I actually think is not the worst when you think about it. There's definitely much more expensive out there. And I mean, they're having to pay for IP, so they've still managed to keep the cost down, which, I mean, quite frankly, impressive. Then the next thing that we have is NYX Cosmetics, and this is their Blurscreen SPF 30 primer. And it is available right now for $14 over on their website. As per usual, I'll have disgusting affiliate links down below. Anything that has an asterisk next to it is, of course, an affiliate link. Now, I think they've been really strategic in the way that they've shown this, because they've made sure to use a lot of POC models in promoting this. And that's because, if you know, you know. Basically, sunscreens will always give you a white cast, and it's really, really difficult if you're a POC to put on sunscreen and not end up with like a terrible white / grey cast. So I think they were doing that as partly a promotional smart marketing tactic of, look at how this looks on our model. If this suits them, it'll suit you as well, which I think is a good tactic in and of itself. And also it's just nice to see a little bit more diversity in terms of campaigns. This is apparently going to last for 18 hours. I mean, don't rely on that to be your sole SPF, because obviously you're going to have to apply it really, really generously. I think isn't it somewhere between like 2 to 3 finger widths of SPF for your face, something like that. But I think this is pretty darn good just as like an additional something. And some people don't want to put any like extra SPF if they have a whole bunch of makeup. I assume that this is something that you could wear even by itself. Not that anyone really wears primer by itself, that would be a bit weird. But I mean, it looks interesting. It's vegan, it's cruelty free. They say that there's no greasy feeling. It's infused with coconut juice and cactus flower extract. They've obviously said, hey, try it with our Blur Me foundation and our Blur Me concealer, and I'm like, I know what you're doing, you silly goose. Now, it is meant to like blur imperfections, which I don't know per se, and it's obviously meant to grip your makeup. That's the primer. For me, I think I wouldn't be so bothered about the blurring of imperfections, because there's only so much a primer can actually do on that. Like, it can't make it look like I don't have spots. I do. I have spots. I'm very, very acne prone. But I would be more interested in the SPF thing, because I am extremely fair. You know, basically Casper's sister. So I take my skincare very, very diligently, particularly when it comes to protection from the sun. So I do quite like this, because I struggle a lot when I'm going out and I'm putting makeup on and trying to find an SPF that'll mesh with it and not be an absolute disaster. So if this would work with that, I would definitely consider that. And I mean, you should be using like 30 every day, like your SPF 30 like every day in general. I don't know how long this would last for, because you don't get like a massive amount of product, and if you're having to use a good bit to actually get the SPF of it, I could see yourself having to like go back and forward to get this primer. But I mean, that's fair enough. I think it's quite clever. So like, well done them, and let's wait and see until other brands cop onto this and start to copy NYX. I love that NYX is like a drugstore brand, that they don't really dupe other brands, they just go off and do their own thing. And sometimes then I see other brands trying to dupe them, and I'm like, well, isn't this a very, very interesting situation that we found ourselves in? And then we have Dolce and Gabbana, and I got tagged in this quite a bit, and that's literally the only reason that I'm talking about this, because I do not understand it. This is the Animalier palette, but there's also some lipsticks. Now, the lipsticks existed already, but what they've done is they've made like a specific kind of cap that goes onto the lipsticks. That's essentially it. That cap is available, believe it or not, for I think it's like $20 £93 and the lipsticks are there for £32 or whatever. I'm talking about the Animalier palette, which is a face and an eyeshadow palette, and I love how they've really kind of gone, the benefits, it's limited edition. How is that a benefit? How, if anything, that's a negative thing. Like, limited edition, if you ended up loving it, it means that you'll never be able to get something that's quite the same again, whatever. And they said that it's multi-finish eyeshadow and face powder palette that offers versatile colours. Really? Versatile? Versatile for who? Versatile for who? Like, yes, for me. It'll work for me because, again, Casper's cousin. But, oh, it's really weird. And then that bright red sort of a blush is weird, which, by the way, they've put down and said that it's a glowing pink blush. So maybe I'm blind. Maybe I don't understand my colours. It could be any of these things. I don't get it. The eyeshadows are apparently matte, sparkle and metallic finishes. For £74. £74 for matte, sparkle and metallic. I don't know about you, but if I had £74, I would not be spending it on that. I get that some people love having everything in one go. I personally don't like mixing my eyeshadows with my face products, the Fallout, etc. It doesn't work. And then also, what suits one person in terms of like a face powder, etc., will not fit another one. Like, even that highlighter might kind of be a little bit too dark for me. I don't understand this. There's something about, like, the more expensive a brand gets in terms of, like, particularly their eye and face palettes, the more cheap and weird it actually gets. And then they have the weird eyeshadow brush. They've actually said practical, compact with a mirror and dual-ended eyeshadow brush applicator. I don't even really know what to say to to that one. I mean, I guess thank you for not doing the sponge thing, and they've said one stroke colour payoff. I hope so. I get that from like loads of drugstore brands. So I would assume I would get it from Dolce & Gabbana. It's very, very weird, very, very strange. And I know that over on TikTok, there's this whole thing with the mob wives thing, which personally I don't understand. I don't get it. It's a very strange trend to me, but I'm Irish. Maybe it's just I'm not getting some of the things around it. I just think it's a bit weird to like make this whole, like, I don't know, glorifying and understating criminality and all of the impacts that it has. So I'm like, oh, it's really weird that you've made that into a trend. But mind you, some of the trends that we've ever had in makeup, beauty, etc. was weird. Remember heroin chic? How incredibly weird was that as a trend, and so like tactless. So it feels like every so often we cycle into like really weird trends that I feel like we'll look back on and be like, maybe not. But I suspect that the Dolce & Gabbana will try and jump onto that sort of marketing for this and be like, oh, now's our time to shine on this. It would be smart, I guess, from a marketing point of view, but I don't know. It's not for me. I mean, if you can't tell it clearly, it was never for me. It was never going to be for me. There you go. But what I do think is very, very nice, this is Micka Beauty Shop, and this is an indie brand based out of France, and they have revealed their One Last Wish palette, and they've kind of been drip feeding it, but now we know what all 12 shades look like, and it's available for pre-order soon enough for €85. So the pre-order is going to drop on February 20th at 12 p.m. CST, and approximately 2 to 4 weeks for shipping time, so keep that in mind. And again, this is a multi-chrome palette, so when you look at it initially you kind of go, oh okay, yeah, that looks kind of nice, you know, things like Electric Aurora looks beautiful, Utopia looks very nice in the pan. But again, whenever you're looking at multi-chromes, the things that sell you are things like pictures and videos. Now I haven't seen any videos as of yet, as of filming, which is a Friday night. Good luck editing, Teresa, but if I find any I will show them right now. But I do have some swatches and they look absolutely glorious. I actually feel like this is a pretty darn good price. Like it's a little over €7 per shade. So I know €85 seems super expensive, and I will not disagree with you on that. €85 in one go is eye-watering. It does make you kind of go, oh my god, what is actually happening? But if you've never had multi-chromes before, I feel like this is a pretty nice one. There's some kind of unusual ones there, and they don't seem to have swatched it on any sort of bases. They've kind of shown it as it is. So I'd love to see some of those with like a black base underneath to see how that's coming out. I think this is really, really good. And I have one thing from Micka Beauty Shop. It's the Serpent palette, which was a collaboration between them and Marta's Makeup. And I will say, I think the quality is really, really great. I feel like they've been working a lot in the background as a brand, just trying to get things just right. And I really, really respect that. The swatches, both on the arm and on the finger, I mean, can we talk about that for like two seconds, because this is my channel and I want to. How beautiful do they look? I mean, I really like them. Is what I'm trying to say. I have a load of multi-chromes. I know I do. I have way more than one human being actually needs in their entire life, but I think this is pretty darn good. And I always have a soft spot for indie brands in general. It's just kind of how I am. The fact that they've managed to make this very competitively priced for a multi-chrome, I think that's impressive. I hope they do really, really well with that. I don't think it's limited edition. I hope they don't make it limited edition, because I think this would be one that I will pick up at some point. Not right now. I have other expenses. But I do think it is very, very interesting. Then we have Melt Cosmetics, and it feels a little bit like they're going back to the old days. And I gotta say, there's a little bit of me that quite enjoys this, because there's a little bit of nostalgia. If you've been into makeup for a really long time, you might remember when Melt did the stack 'em ups. I thought that was so interesting, super, super clever. I still have my radioactive stack 'em up. And part of what I loved about that was like you could mix and match and kind of shove them together, and you got quite a bit of product in that. So it seems that they're kind of bringing that back. This is their neutrals stacks. So we have our neutral browns petite stack for $30, the warm browns petite stack for $30. There's the penny metal bond gel eyeliner for $22, the burnish ultra matte gel eyeliner for $22, or if you wanted the whole thing together, it's $65. I mean, let's talk about maybe the warm neutrals first. I mean, it looks very, very pretty. There's aspects of this that I'm like, I can see how maybe the highlighter shade is a little bit more cool toned leaning, but it's very, very pretty. It's very, very nice. I have to say that there's something about this that just, the nostalgia of it is wonderful for me. Now, I do think it's very expensive. Like when you're looking at it, there's 5 shades. That's not a huge amount, and that's $30. So that's working out as $6 per shade. I mean, I know, fast math. I assume that this is something that you could use across a lot of things. Like, yes, you could use it as your eyeshadow, you could use it as maybe like a highlighter, a bronzer, a bit of a blush, etc., which is grand. That's fine. But I personally wouldn't really think about paying $30 for that unless I knew I was going to get a lot of use out of that. I kind of love that they're going into that level of innovation and kind of going back to their roots in that. So that's kind of exciting for me. And the cool toned one, I gotta say, I do quite like that one. I do. I love kind of there is a little bit more of like a grey tone to some of them. Not a total grey. There's a little bit of like almost like a purpleness to it. I don't know. But again, we're looking at 5 shades here. Again, you could use some of these as like a contour, definitely, and maybe a little bit of an under eye thing. This one isn't as versatile as maybe the warm one in terms of how you could potentially use it. You're kind of stuck with this about how you could use it. Like you could maybe use the kind of shimmery shade there as a highlighter if you have a deeper tone, but I'm a little bit unconvinced as to how that will go. I like it. I do. I think it's quite nice. But it's interesting that they're going back to the stacks because they got rid of those and now they're going back to them. I'd love to know what the rationale for that was. Is it down to nostalgia? Is it a marketing thing? What's going on? It does look like you get a lot of product in there. I don't know. I'd love to know what the ratio of product is, because as I said, $30, it does feel quite a bit for a 5 pan. And I just feel like Melt's formula just isn't the absolute best. Sorry guys, I don't love it. I don't hate it, but I don't think it's like up there to warrant the price. I will say the gel liners, they look really, really nice. I think that's very, very smart. The really burnt kind of metallic-y one, oh, nom nom nom. I love the look of that. $22. That's not the worst, to be fair. I also love the more like burgundy one. I don't have anything negative to say about those. I think they're actually beautiful. The last couple of Melt collections that I've seen, the stuff that has really weirdly intrigued me has actually been their gel eyeliners. So I think that's smart for them to kind of keep coming out with some of these. There's a little bit that I'm kind of like, I wonder how much they compare to existing shades or ones that they had done as part of limited edition collections. I'd love to see if there's much of a crossover on that. But it's not bad. Like, there's part of this collection that does kind of get me because I'm like, oh, nostalgia. It reminds me of when I started buying from Melt Cosmetics in the first place. But I'm in a totally different place as a human being. I've tried so much more. I'm really specific about what I like in terms of my formulas. And I just feel that where I am now, I don't think I could justify that amount of money for those things. And I feel like they could probably dupe a lot of that from their existing collection, you know, from the brunette palette, etc. Although I heard varying reports on that as to the quality. So who knows, maybe they've changed the quality on this. You'd kind of hope that they might be looking towards innovating. But there you go. So you know how Charlotte Tilbury has Pillow Talk and NARS has Orgasm and Tarte has Amazonian Clay? It seems that KVD's thing is Good Apple. Yeah, they've added to their Good Apple line, but this time it's with blush balm duos and with essentially sculpting bronzing duos. Let's talk about the blush balm duos right now. This is going to be available from February the 18th. There's 4 duos, they're $34 each, and they're 0.21 ounces. So they come with 2 shades, obviously, in each of those duos. Some very odd sort of mixes. So the first one that we have is Secret Thicket 10, which is Hidden Apple, Hallowed Apple. It's a terracotta rose and rich pomegranate. Then there's Elusive Orchard 30, which is Gilded Apple and Glass Apple, which is a light honey and soft coral. That's probably the shade that would kind of fit me the most. Then Red Meadow 50, a Thorned Apple, Immortal Apple. They really can't get over the whole apple thing, which is a True Brick and a Bold Crimson. And then finally there's Nymph's Grove 70, which is a Cryptic Apple and Mythic Apple, a Deep Berry and Vibrant Purple. So according to KVD themselves, they say that you can get virtually effortless blendable cheek colour in 2 creamy ultra saturated shades of KVD Beauty's Good Apple Blush Balm Duo for a pore blurring velvety finish that lasts all day. Are we all braced and ready for all of the ones to come out and on TikTok and do the influencer gas and be like, oh my god, this is the most amazing thing ever? Are we? I'm already dreading it. I wonder if it's the same formula as what's in the Good Apple, because I hated that. This is what they're saying as the benefits. Online skin for offline wear. I don't know really what that means. I assume that they're meaning like, oh, it makes you look like you have a filter on. Fair, I guess. Velvety pore blurring finish, won't emphasize texture. No filters necessary. Cool, cool, cool. Mix them together for infinite customization and layer for soft sculpted blush or juicy apple cheeks. I mean, yes, I would agree with like mixing these things together. Whenever you have a cream formula like that, I think it is one of the benefits that you can actually mix those things. They do say though, it's adapted from Good Apple Foundation Balm's lightweight, high pigment formula for full coverage blush that layers seamlessly and lasts all day. You just know that they're going to be like, pairs best with KVD Good Apple Foundation. I tried the KVD Good Apple Balm, hated it. Tried the KVD Good Apple Serum Foundation, probably hated that more. So if this spares any similarities, and guys, you know me, I'm a blush hoe. I can't say no to blush. I dream of blush, sometimes in a very inappropriate way. But this is one of those rare occasions that I'm like, no, kill it with fire. Don't want this at all. I do feel though, the Good Apple formula is like, some people absolutely love it, and then other people are like me, just kind of going, die. I don't feel like there's many people who are in the middle on this. I don't know, very strange. They're really going for the whole like online thing, which is, I mean, like I said, wait till we see all of the TikTok stuff. It features all-day saturation and glitch-free application. Oh, lads, that is such I feel like it's a catty thing to say, because we've seen quite a few of those influencers and they're like, I'm all natural, and then you can see the filter glitch and you're like, I see what you're doing there. I'm no fool. This is ultra concentrated pigment suspended in a creamy base for easy blending. Whenever I hear the phrase it's suspended, all I can think of is like suspended in time, suspended in space. You know, you're just floating out there, like just in amongst space. That's all I can think of. It'd be a great Cillian Murphy film. Versatile neutrals and vibrant pops based on KVD's viral long wear foundation. Viral, yeah, because you paid a lot for that. Fresh apple infusion, and then they say it's non-comedogenic. I mean, I would hope so. Like, I don't think that there's many blushes that are comedogenic. Are there? It seems like a really weird thing to brag. It's like saying, like, our products are made with oxygen. Most are. Like, weird thing to say. Again, it's apparently infused with nourishing apple extract and hydrating sodium hyaluronate, because people are trying to get away from the whole hyaluronic acid and go, this is totally different, it's sodium hyaluronate. And it's like, well, it's kind of basically the same thing, just a slightly different density. But anyways, none of this is interesting to me. I do think that if you're looking at like the deeper shade, it looks potentially interesting, but what have they done in the way that they've shown this? Like, by the way, I took these pictures from Ulta because it was available on Ulta to look at, not to buy. Why did they show the purple, like this purple blush on this model? And the model is beautiful, but her skin tone is not really who you'd put this blush on. Do you know what I mean? Like, they should have put this onto several different skin tones if that's what you want to do, but definitely a deeper skin tone, because like we all know, hopefully at this point, purple blush looks the most beautiful on a deeper skin tone. It is like awe-inspiring, genuinely. So I'm like, why have you done that? They've used like essentially the same model throughout, and also it doesn't look like she's changed the pose across pictures, which seems very, I don't want to say photoshopped, but it does seem photoshopped to me. Ooh, what are you doing, lad? Oh, you silly goose. This is so strange. Yeah, it's not for me, lads, can you tell? And I'm sorry, lads, but there is more. This is the KVD Good Apple Bronze and Sculpt Balm Duo, and that's retailing for $36. There's going to be 6 shades. They again have 0.21 ounces, and that's coming out February 18th online. What's really strange? Well, there's lots of strange things. There's Fair 100, which is Fair Bronze Fair Sculpt, Light 200, a Light Bronze Light Sculpt, Medium 300, Medium Bronze Medium Sculpt, and then we jump to Tan 500. What happened to Adjective 400? We just went from 300 to 500. Very strange. Tan 500, Tan Bronze Tan Sculpt, Deep 600, Deep Bronze Deep Sculpt, Rich Deep 700, which is a Rich Deep Bronze and Rich Deep Sculpt. Look, I actually think that the shade range here is not bad at all. I love that it goes super, super deep. Fantastic. Do I think that this is a sculpt? No, because when I think of sculpt, I think of contour. I don't think any of the shades, well, there's like maybe 1 or 2 here, like the Light 200, the shade over on the right hand side, that looks a little bit more like it's kind of grey in tone, so a little bit more contoury, but everything else is like super, super warm, and I'm like, I don't really get what that is. But they're really going with the whole like bronzing and sculpting, and they say it's a creamy and blendable formula for realistic warmth, shadow and definition. But as I'm saying, shadow has to be grey toned, and none of these are really that grey toned. Actually, they're all very, very warm, so my brain does not understand it. And they basically copied and pasted what they said for the blush, but they've added a couple of other things, like obviously kind of gone realistic warmth and shadow, sculpt, chisel and define. They're again saying it's like non-patchy with a velvety skin-like finish. Define your features by blending over your base or underpaint for low-key dimension. Well, look, my love, if you're going to underpaint, and I know that they're going to say like use it with the Good Apple foundation. No, the Good Apple foundation is meant to give you like a lot of coverage. You do not underpaint with a really heavy coverage foundation, because all of the underpainting that you've just done gets covered by this higher pigment foundation. So what are you doing? That's just silly. Don't do that. Anyways, whatever. For layering over and under your foundation, grand. Online skin for offline wear, same thing. I mean, copy and paste, why not? It has a non-greasy feel that won't clog pores. Again, I've never had an issue with a bronzer or a contour, and I don't have that many, but I have a couple of favourites, and some of them are cream formulas, and I've never had that issue before. So really weird that they're saying that. Future focused and fully recyclable. Okay, when you're done, recycle the monomaterial compact with plastics. No disassembly necessary. Now I do appreciate that. They've really kind of gone along that route over the last couple of years since Kat Von D left, and I appreciate that. But I don't know. I just think this is really strange. Again, they're like, hey, we've used this with the good apple. And yeah, I don't get it. It looks grand on the models. As I said, though, it's a bronzer. It's none of this. Or maybe I'm insane, but I don't see contour. Maybe in some instances a slight bit. But I don't feel like it's grey toned enough. I do appreciate how dark it goes, I will say that. So like, fair play to them for that. Do I think I'll end up getting it? No, because I don't like the good apple formula. So for too long, didn't want to pay attention. Tracy's not going to get, she doesn't like the good apple formula. There you go. The very last thing then that I want to talk about is this sneak peek, and it's a really strange one. Essentially, it's Rhode Skin, which is owned by Hailey Bieber. I mean, she's essentially famous for being Justin Bieber's wife. Strange thing to be famous for, but there you go. She seems to kind of be doing her own thing now and is very successful over on social media and obviously with Rhode Skin. And one of the things that's been really, really popular in her brand has been the lip peptides. So she's now doing a phone case that you can slot the peptide into, which is weird. I don't get it. Like, I don't know, like maybe if it had been something that I could like clip onto, I don't know, my keys, like as a key ring or something. For me, I don't want my phone being extra bulky. I just don't. To each their own though. It just feels very like, I don't know, personality free. And I'm like, should your phone not have a little bit of personality? Maybe that's just me, because like, I mean, my phone, I mean, look, I have like a super cute little cover of like this and like a pop socket. Like I need to have a pop socket because I just keep dropping things. But like, this is so much cuter. It has a cat, look at it. And then that one, I don't know. I'd be interested to see how much she's going to sell it for. I think what I found really interesting though was Trend Mood absolutely gushing over this and being like, it's genius, it's amazing, it's so clever. And I'm like, I wouldn't say it's genius, I'd say it's really good marketing in the sense that she's figured out that everyone likes this, so she's capitalizing on one of her biggest products. And you know, that can go okay. Depending. As I said, you know, NARS does Orgasm, Charlotte Tilbury does Pillow Talk, KVD apparently does Good Apple, and apparently Rhode Skin is all about the peptides, which, you know, there's worse things to be into. But my gorgeous friends, that's it. I apologise for not putting these to you in stories. As I kind of said, my week has been a bit hectic. I've taken on a lot across my 2 jobs and various other responsibilities, and if you can't tell, I am exhausted. I look haggard. I think I've aged myself by taking on too much, so I haven't been able to get on and kind of film in the way that I want to. I'm not sure that's going to change that much in the next couple of weeks, but I will try my absolute best. However, I do have my favourite comment, and this is from andbeyond86, and she said, I sit up at night and think, how do they do that? Too funny, you always bring something to the table. Thank you. The thing is, I actually do legitimately sit up at night and think about beauty brands and like how they do things and why do they do the things that they do. Like, it consumes whole chunks of my thought processes. And I don't know where this is from. Is this like my general personality, or is it the tism and this is my hyper focus, and I'm like, I must get to know this particular thing. But I know I must drive my husband absolutely nuts because I just like natter on about these things, and God bless him, he just kind of goes, that's nice. He's a much nicer person than me, to be fair. But my gorgeous friends, that is it. Let me know what you guys think of these new releases. Are you into them? Please tell me you're with me on the KVD thing, because I don't get it. I'm truly confused. I also just hate people confusing bronzer and contour. It's like a real pet peeve of mine. They're like, please don't do that. They're not the same thing. One brings warmth, one sculpts and chisels. And Lord, look, the reason why I'm so passionate about it is, look at me and my big chunky face. I do contour, like obviously not now, but I do when I'm doing makeup, so that I look like I haven't eaten all the biscuits. When I've always eaten all the biscuits. But my gorgeous friends, that's it. I can't wait to hear what you guys think, and thank you so much for watching. You guys don't know how much that means to me. I really do appreciate it. I read all of the comments. I do try to get back to them. But my gorgeous friends, that's it. Thank you so much for watching. Do please like, comment and subscribe. Turn on that notification bell, and do please share, because sharing is caring, except of course for STDs, in which case just wrap it up. Don't be gross. But that's it. That's the end of the video, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.